Hi guys, so I've had some requests for a video on sort of how to communicate effectively with a narcissist, and keep in mind that this is a very difficult thing to do. It's almost impossible, but if you are in a relationship with a narcissist that you can't get out of, for instance, if you have to co-parent with a narcissist, or if you have a boss that's a narcissist or somebody that you have to work with that has these traits, there are specific ways that you can communicate with them that are more effective than others. Let's just put it that way. I'm not saying that you can become a narcissist whisperer and really, get like really effective, sincere, authentic communication with them. Therapists who have their PhDs in with an emphasis on personality disorders, they have, they have a hard time with this. So it's a really tall order. But, the gray rock method has been talked about quite a bit, and that is where you keep your answers very short, very neutral. Or your questions very short and neutral. You have all communication with them be with no emotional content, neither positive or negative, because remember, they are feeding on emotions, whether those emotions are negative or positive. They are creating, they're masters at creating reactions and then, kind of feeding on those reactions. So even though the narcissist will act like they're the calm, cool, collected one while you're, reacting, they do that because it gives them power. And they, in the meanwhile, they've been, stirring the pot behind the scenes to create an emotional reaction. They've been manipulating you and gaslighting you, right? So telling you, you didn't see what you saw, you didn't hear what you heard. I never said that, even though you may have recorded them saying it or written it down. That's not what I meant. Like they're always, their goal of communication is not the same as, say, neurotypicals, where the goal of communication is resolution, understanding, getting to a common, agreement. A narcissist's goal of communication is to be right, to win, and and to manipulate other people's emotions to get their way, right? So it's really important when you're trying to communicate with one of these people that you keep the content very non-emotional. If you're co-parenting with a narcissist and you need to go pick up the kids, and they'll try to do things to incite you. I have one of the clients that I was working with was saying that the narcissist that she was with, when he was going through this divorce with his ex, which was of course dragged out for many, many years, and kept taking her back to court and doing what they do, but she had to get a protection order against him, and then he had to drop the kids off without going through her little roundabout. The rule was he was supposed to drop them off at the street so they could walk up to the house. And inevitably, every time he would drop the kids off, he would go through the roundabout. And, it would require her, if she wanted to stop him from doing that, she had to hire a lawyer and take him back to court about him going through a roundabout, which seems so petty, right? But it's just another, he was pushing the boundaries and, basically trampling on her boundaries, saying, I don't give a shit about your boundaries. I'm going to do it my way. And, her recourse was, she didn't have much. I mean, she could have taken him back to court, which I think eventually she did. But it's just an example of he was trying to create chaos instead of just abiding by the rules, dropping the kids off on the street so they could go up to the house and, have a pretty, nice co-parenting situation. That is not their goal ever. Their goal is to have control, power, to create reactions, to feel important. And if they get you to get upset over their antics, then that gives them this surge of power. Like, I am so important. I matter, right? And, that speaks to another idea that, this narcissistic wound is this wound that they developed that told them that they don't matter, right? So the narcissist way of dealing with that is to demand, the world give the narcissist their due, sort of, right? So it does come from a place of wounding and deep rooted insecurities, like deep trauma. So, if that helps you to be a little bit more compassionate, but in general, when you're communicating with them, gray rock method is very effective. And then another strategy that you can use that I read about in some of the psychology books is that you can use, it's a little bit like reverse psychology. You can say to the narcissist, when you want to get them to do something, you can say, hey, you always have these fantastic ideas of places to go. I wanted to talk to you about, what are some of these areas that you'd like to explore? Or, hey, you really always have, or you're good with advice in this realm or whatever. So I wanted to come to you. And like, if you can get them to think that it was their idea and give them like a lot of positive reinforcement and flattery and validation, like up front when you're first starting the conversation, like giving them validation. And I know that this is yucky if you may feel like you're being manipulative and disingenuous, and it's one reason I probably wouldn't even be able to do this strategy. But the way the psychologist put it is like you're sort of lowering their defenses to begin the conversation. So, if you come to them with like the positives, a lot of like positive reinforcement before you go for the difficult conversation. I have never really tried that with a narcissist, because now that I have the narcissist out of my life, my goal is to try to avoid them, because most people don't have these personality disorders. They're the outliers. So I really would like to live a relatively narcissistically free life. But I do know that in the context of my job or, my life, I may run into a narcissist. So I would, if I have to do that, I would like to be able to effectively, communicate with them with the minimal damage done to myself. So, if you do have to co-parent, or if you have to have one in your life, I'll do some more videos on specific examples of how to use the gray rock method. But the gray rock, validation, letting them think that it's their idea, giving them making them think that they're the ones who have the power. Again, some of those ideas to me do seem a little bit disingenuous, but that's what, some of the psychologists did recommend, that instead of looking at it that way, you were actually sort of, treating their wound. You're being delicate with their wound, which is that deep-seated insecurity, that trauma wound. And when you give them positive validation, you're like sort of, addressing that trauma wound to lower the narcissist's defenses, right? So you want to lower their defenses so that they feel more at ease communicating with you. So I hope this helps. This is a little bit rambling, but I'll try to do a few more videos on the gray rock method. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.